Morning everybody, it is Tuesday the 30th of June. We have come up to Rothesay, which is over there. Here comes the ferry. As you can tell, we're not having the best luck with the weather, so we have booked on the Waverley paddle steamer. I'll get it right. So we're on the Waverley paddle steamer. We're going out to a place called Tarbert, and I believe there are about 1 million Tarberts in Scotland. I need to look that up one day and figure out what that means. There are a lot of Tarberts. Can't tell you which one we're going to. But we're going up the Firth of Clyde to Tarbert. It takes about 2 hours. We've got 2 hours in Tarbert and then 2 hours back. And I'm hoping that the weather might have cleared up. So we're going to head back into Rothesay. We've got about an hour until the boat arrives, so we'll try and get the boat arriving. So we'll try and get him arriving, and then I'll try and get some shots on the boat if I can. I've no idea, is it going to be busy? Is it going to be quiet? I really don't know, so we'll see. Launched on the 2nd of October 1946, the Waverley is 80 years old this year. She was launched from Glasgow in 46. Her maiden voyage was in 1947, and her home is the Firth of Clyde. So I think I've already said this was a 6-hour trip. It was 2 hours on the boat to Tarbert, 2 hours in Tarbert and 2 hours back. And this is our route. So she left Largs first, arrived in Rothesay, I think at around 2:30. Then we travelled up to that place which I will not try and pronounce, and we finished in Tarbert. I really hope this video does the Waverley justice. I hope it comes across what an experience this is. And I found myself in the engine room, if that's what you want to call it, a lot. I couldn't believe that you could get so close and you were free to just stand and watch. And I found the whole thing fascinating. And then not far away, as you walked down the deck, were a couple of windows, do you want to call them windows, and you could just lean out and you got a real sense, you were so close to the water, you got a real sense of just how fast you were going.
Likely event of an emergency, an alarm signal consisting of 7 or more short blasts followed by one longer blast will be sounded on the ship's whistle and alarm bells. On hearing this signal, you should proceed immediately to the nearest assembly station.
We're on the Waverley, we're on the ship, right behind the funnel. I can't tell you how smooth it is. It's fantastic. So we're sailing from Rothesay up to Tarbert. So we'll be going around the island and over onto the mainland. £47 each. And you might wince at that. We've been on 2 minutes and I think it's worthwhile. It's brilliant. I'll try and show you around. I'll see if I can muster up the courage to walk around videoing. There's a bar at the front, there's a coffee shop in the middle, there's a cafe at the back, there's a restaurant downstairs, there's a gift shop selling all manner of things. It's busy, but it's not packed. There's a lovely atmosphere on board. As I say, we've been here 2 minutes and I am loving it. This is brilliant. They just gave out where we were going and we both said, don't really care. Just going to stand and look at the countryside, look at the towns passing by and just enjoy it. So this trip was predominantly in the Isles of Bute and it was spectacular, and the best thing was we got to do it twice because we went out and then we came back exactly the same way. Again, you are going to have to forgive the indulgence. I recorded what felt like hours of this and I could watch it all. What really fascinated me was the the difference in the speed of all the little elements of the mechanism. So we've got this little thing right at the front here going kind of half the speed and half the distance of the main crank arms, and this you had to step over. That's the main crank going out to the paddles. And I love the sense of just how much water is being moved when she was at full tilt. So this is us leaving Steamer Waverley. Again, it was everything fascinated me. I found everything unbelievably brilliant. I was like a 5-year-old at a Thomas the Tank Engine convention, and I kept thinking it was this is what people must feel like when they go and see steam trains. And I think I said earlier on, aside from when you were stood outside the engine room or in the engine room, it was so quiet, it was so smooth, and you only really got a sense of the power and what was going on by looking down at the water, and all of a sudden this calm kind of Kyle water is being churned up by these enormous propellers that were driving us. So we left Steamer Waverley and we did a big U-turn, because as you could see earlier on, there was only one side with gangplanks. We had to pull into port on the same side every time. So we did a big U-turn and we entered Loch Fyne and headed towards Tarbert. And this is us arriving, and again the same thing. I'm really sorry, but 5-year-old at a steam train convention here, when they need to stop there are no brakes, and you kind of think, cool, we're coming in quick, but all they do is apply the pressure to the paddles, almost kind of reversing the paddles, and the water gets churned up again and looks this unbelievably beautiful turquoise, and you almost come to an immediate halt, except it's still so smooth and so calm. Our rather eventful stop in Tarbert is for another video, so here we are waiting for the Waverley to come back. She'd sailed up Loch Fyne. For the lucky people who didn't get off in Tarbert and stayed on the boat, she sailed up Loch Fyne, which must have been fantastic, and then 2 hours later arrived back, and on we got, and off we went again. So this is my sorry attempt to try and record what the inside of the boat looked like. So we start off, this is the main restaurant, and the queue for the fish and chips. Fish and chips was about £16, which I think is incredibly reasonable today. It'll cost more than that at your local chippy, and it looked phenomenal. And this is the gift shop. Now ignore the fact that I am a chocoholic. The gift shop was really well stocked, and the chap who worked in there was a lovely guy. We were talking to him for ages, and we bought ourselves a couple of mugs to prove that we've been on the boat. And this is the top deck, and this is an illustration of just how lucky we were. I've seen pictures of the steamer with this deck packed out. We had free rein, we could go wherever we wanted. The majority of the sailing, we were the only people up there. There was a time when the weather cleared up and it got a lot warmer and a lot sunnier, and it got a little bit busier, but it was never that busy. And here is the destinations board, and they really did come and alter that. Every single port they came and took out the previous port so that the next port was the next port. They did that diligently throughout the cruise. And this was arguably my favourite part of the cruise. The weather cleared, the sun came out, it was warmer, and we rounded Buttock Point, honestly, and we entered what are known as the Narrows. And that name kind of gives you an idea of what we were going into. And you'll see in a moment, they didn't slow down. The accuracy, obviously they've done it before, but this is an 80-year-old paddle steamer, and we were within feet of the buoys marking out the safe passage route. Tell me that's not fun. He could have done that the entire journey and I would have just stood and watched it. So we knew that the Narrows were going to be spectacular. We knew that we wanted to be outside. The captain had told everybody on the way out to keep an eye out for the Narrows and why. But we knew we'd be coming back the same way, so we were downstairs when we went through on the way out, and we knew that we would be able to look on the way back. And boy, was it worth it. I know, I looked this up. It was 180 metres from shoreline to shoreline at the narrowest point. But you can see clearly that the buoys marking the safe passage route were much, much closer. We were so close, it was so exciting. The other thing about the proximity of the shoreline was that you got a real sense of the speed at which we were travelling. Now, it's an 80-year-old paddle steamer. I'm not pretending that this is a speedboat, but it was rapid. I didn't expect it to be anything like as quick as we were. And then I headed down the back of the boat. Now, I loved this shot, and I didn't appreciate it as we were going through, but you can clearly see it's almost like a slalom, and the skill with which they navigated that without any sense of slowing was quite something. Then we crossed the path of the second Calmac ferry to go to Bute. This one goes from Collintrave to Rubber Duck. And then it was a race back home to Rothesay. And I say race because we were racing the weather. As you'll see from some of the pictures, there were quite a few stormy squalls surrounding us, and it was a real race to get back in the dry. And then as we got closer to Rothesay, everything kind of calmed down. We obviously slowed down as we got nearer to the harbour, and we got closer to the shoreline, and because we were slower, the wind dropped and the water was calmer. This is me now saying, you can see the bottom. I was fascinated by the fact that we were so close to land that we could see the bottom of the sea, if you want to call it that. I assume it's a fairly flat-bottomed hull, but even so. And this is what made the Waverley so special. There were quite a few of us got on in Rothesay, so there were quite a few of us getting off. And everybody kind of congregated on deck, and you were perfectly happy watching us dock. Now, how often does that happen on the Dover to Calais route? It's not that interesting, but this is such a unique ship, and it's absolutely fascinating just to watch everything that happens in order to bring us to shore. So we were just talking to one of the crew, and he was asking if we were enjoying it. We were saying yes, and I have to say all of the crew have been really lovely, really friendly, really warm, nice people. Really makes the whole thing, and I have to say most of the people on board as well. It's a really lovely atmosphere up here. I can't recommend it enough. I know my video inside is fairly awful. I apologise for that. It's because I still feel bad videoing other people without getting their permission, so I'm a bit shy when I'm doing that, but I hope I've given you an idea. You go. The chap we were talking to said it is very quiet today, and it's normally much busier, so we've lumped in with the number of people and how busy it is. And it's been absolutely brilliant. I really loved it. Really, really can't recommend it highly enough. So I really hope this video has given you a sense of what it's like to travel on the Waverley, and I hope I've done her justice. I can't tell you how much we enjoyed it. I mean, this is not sponsored in any way. If I seem like a Waverley salesperson, it's a reflection of just how much I enjoyed the day. And if I could travel on her tomorrow again, I would do. Thank you for watching. I always appreciate it. I hope next week I'll have another video, and it will be more about our holiday on Bute, possibly with tales of the stop in Tarbert. So I look forward to seeing you again soon.